humans tampering with the environment is something that has brought so many adverse effects in some areas while positive ones in other areas. Not just affecting the surroundings though, but also affecting people, putting them in danger. Therefore, as we try to hit our development goals, it is also important to think of the impact of these new developments around us and how they can help us with our needs. Yet, it should not take away from anybody else. With more and more infrastructures being built, while development is key, consideration in our cities is also as important. This kind of consideration can help further implement the 11th SDG, which is Sustainable Cities and Communities, which entails making cities and other human settlements safe, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. This calls for us to take more into mind those who are not as privileged as the average citizen. Imagine being in a place that does not take account of your needs. A city that is always just so harsh on its people. One that does not provide and is simply just there. Cities, other kinds of human settlements, they were not built simply to be standing there. They were built to make life better, to make the future better. Yet, how can there be a future when all we see are walls of concrete, flights of stairs, pollution here and there? Going further than solving the problem of crowded cities full of buildings and pollution, more aspects mentioned in the 11th SDG was that of being inclusive, safe, and resilient. When one speaks of being inclusive and safe, this means to make something universal, to include all. This is particularly for women, children, the elderly, and those with disabilities, no matter what race. Now, when one speaks of resiliency, this looks at the ability of a city being able to rebuild after being struck by calamities. Furthermore, it also looks at the capabilities and knowledge of the citizens when it comes to disaster risk reduction, as they are the first responders to both themselves and the people around them. Development in this SDG is still undergoing, but as time creeps closer and closer towards the targeted date of success with the SDGs, it is still as important to make meaningful contribution and action in our own ways. The UN has even provided 10 simple targets that are wide scope for all to be able to chip in. These targets include: Number 1, providing safe and affordable housing for all. 2, affordable and sustainable transport systems. 3, inclusive and sustainable urbanization. 4, protecting the world's cultural and natural heritage. 5, reducing the adverse effects of natural disasters. 6, reducing the environmental impact of cities. 7, provide access to safe, inclusive, green, and public spaces. 8, strong national and regional development planning. 9, implementation of policies for inclusion, resource efficiency, and disaster risk reduction. Lastly, number 10, support least developed countries in sustainable and resilient building. Building permanent shelters for the homeless, making public transport more efficient, adding ramps in buildings both public and private, keeping trees, planting trees, teaching first aid, being respectful. These are only some of the things that we can support or even do in order to contribute to the 11th SDG and to contribute to ultimately bettering the world for all of us and the future generations.